Okay, good afternoon, students. So let me just make a quick review of what we have discussed, and we'll just get into the topic that we're supposed to do today, which is the past transistor logic. Okay. So in the last class, what we were focusing is on the noise margin. So I'll just make a quick review on this noise margin again. So based on this noise margin, there are a few things that we had discussed. There are two types of noise margin. One we call it as noise margin high, NMH. The other one is noise margin low, which is NML. And the definition of these two, for NMH, we need to combine this VOH and VIH, which is nothing but the output high as well as input high. It's basically a function of both these quantities, and we need to write it appropriately such that the value of this quantity, we end up having some sort of positive value out of it. Okay. So similarly, in order to write the expression of NML, it's again basically a function of the low terms. Okay. And the output of this supposed to be a positive quantity. And with that in mind, we can write down the definition. Okay. So now let me just bring out the definitions of the VOH, VOL, as well as VIH and VIL quantities. Okay. Now,
So one question.
Yeah.
Over here, if noise margin is asked and they do not specify NMH or NML, and you are getting different values, what do you do in such cases? Like for one of
Maybe we will do one particular problem based on it, wherein these quantities need not to be same. Okay, so probably you might have a better noise margin for the high and maybe a worse case for the low. Okay, so sometimes these values may be equal, but most of the times these values may be different from each other. So we need to identify them based on the formulas that I'm going to write it down. Okay. So hope that it is clear. So now what I was telling is like we will be taking the VTC graph of the inverter, and we would try to read out the values of VOL and VIL based on the slope value at which the slope is becoming -1. Okay, so the slope at these points would be taken as -1. Okay, over here the slope value would be -1. So in order to get this point, what we did is that we made a derivative graph. So we were plotting one more graph, which is the x-axis is still the same Vn that we had, but the y-axis was just the derivative of our y-axis of the previous graph. Okay, so when we do so, we would end up having a 0 value here, and then after a while, the slope. So the derivative graph goes all the way down, and then it switches back and then return back to the value of 0. Okay. Now one could place a kind of horizontal line at the value of -1. Okay, when the dV out slope value is equal to -1, then what I can do is I can just place a horizontal line. This horizontal line will intersect at two points. Okay, across the green graph. The first point we call them as VIL. Why? Because it is the lowest value. Okay, because we know that the Vn varies from 0 all the way to the maximum voltage of VDD. Okay? And this is a voltage that happens closer to the value of 0, and we call this as VIL. And the next intersection point, we call it as VIH. Okay? So once we got the value of VIL and VIH, we will be using these quantities in order to derive the value of the corresponding VOH or VOL quantities. Okay? So now having got this VIL, I would take this particular point, I will read out the value of VOH just by taking the value of VIL, okay, which I have taken from the derivative graph. Okay, I'll try to place a vertical line across this particular point. Okay, so this vertical point would then intersect across the VTC graph, not on the derivative graph. Okay, and this in turn would return us a value, and this value we call it as VOH. Okay, so from VIL, which is the low value, we are taking VOH. Okay, so similarly, we would take the value of this VIH, place that particular point, and then try to fix a vertical line across this input VIH, and there will be one single intersection, and this intersection point will then return us what is known as VOEL, okay, the output low value. Okay, so now that we have got all these 4 points, and now we need to compute the value of this NMH and NML. Okay, as I said, in order to compute the value of this NMH, I need VOH as well as VIH, but I need to arrange these expressions in such a way that I end up having a positive quantity. Okay, so now in this case, you could clearly see that the value of this VOH is almost closer to the value of VDD. Okay, so the magnitude of my VOH is higher than the magnitude of my VIH quantity. Okay, so due to which my expression would be something like VOH minus VIH. That is the expression for the NMH value. And similarly, for the computation of this NML, from this particular picture only we will get to know that the value of this VOL is quite smaller than the value of VIL. Okay, so VIL is almost closer to the magnitude of VDD by 2. Okay, so if I take this as my midpoint between the value of 0 and the maximum value of VDD, you could see this value of VIL is closer to the value of VDD. Okay, VDD by 2. So due to which I have a magnitude of VIL which is higher than the magnitude of our VOL. Due to which I would try to put VIL first and then VOL, so that when I do any subtraction, I end up having this positive value across the noise margins. Okay, so these are the cases normally that we would have. But now I just want to talk about the ideal condition. Ideally, what's supposed to be the noise margin of high and the noise margin of low? What's supposed to be these values?
VDD by 2.
Yeah. So this would be VDD by 2. The way that we would get is that our VOH, we want it to be always sticking to one single point, which is VDD. Okay. And our VIL, we want this VIH to be equal to VDD by 2. So when we subtract these two ideal voltages for the VOH as well as VIH, then we would end up having this NMH to be equal to VDD by 2. And similarly, we want this VOL, which is supposed to be equal to the value of 0. We want this output to be at 0. Okay, so that is the ideal value for VOL, and our ideal value for VIL is the midpoint, okay, which is equal to VDD by 2 minus 0. We would then end up having this. Okay, so this is the case of an ideal condition. Okay, but normally we will not have this kind of situation, and we will have a value for NMH and NML which is less than the value of VDD by 2. Clear? Yeah. So now let me do a simple exercise here. Okay. So let me just draw a graph, and I just want you to compute this NMH as well as NML values. Okay. So these are the voltages ranges that I have given for both V in as well as V out. I want you people to compute the value of NMH and NML for this. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So now the way that I'm going to compute is by substituting these things. Okay, so we have to have a VOH minus VIH for the top term. Okay, so from this particular cara, my VOH would be equal to 1.2, and my VIH is basically 0.6. Okay, so the end result would be like 0.6 volt for NMH. Okay, similarly, the NML is VIL minus VOL quantity, right? So my VIL is this 0.4. Okay, so I have this 0.4 minus my VOL quantity, which is 0.1. Okay, so due to which I have this 0.3 volt. Okay, so I think many of you have answered right. So these are the values that you would get. Okay, yeah. So now with this discussion, we will move on to the next topic, basically the pass transistor logic. Okay. Now, in this case, we will be working on the DC characteristics, which means that the inputs are fixed to a particular voltages. Whatever the circuits that we have discussed before, what we did is that in the case of a CMOS logic, like CMOS inverter, we were feeding the inputs to the gates, to the gate terminals. Okay. This was the condition that we were using when we discussed about the CMOS logics in general. Okay. Anyhow, I have to yet to talk about the CMOS logic further, but after the discussion of this pass transistor, I will move on to the CMOS structure for different other gates like NAND, NOR. Maybe you would have already known it, but I will just try to revise those structures along with some Boolean expressions, how to realize them. Okay. Yeah. So in general, whenever you try to build any CMOS logic, what happens is that the inputs are always fed to the gates, okay, and the outputs are taken out from the drain terminals. Okay, so from the drain of a particular transistor, okay, not from all the transistors, a drain of a particular transistor is being taken as an output. Okay, so this is how we were been using it. Okay, now In the case of a pass transistor, what happens is that the situation slightly reverses. Now, in the case of a pass transistor, the inputs generally go to two terminals. Okay, so one is obviously, as we had before, the gate terminal. The other one could be a source or a drain. Okay, now then where do I tap the output? So in the case of the output, what happens is that I be either using a source or a drain, depending on what terminal I've used for the input. Okay, say for example, if I have used the source as my input terminal, then in that case, the output would be taken out from the drain. Okay, so in case if I've used the drain as my input, then I would be tapping the output from the source. Okay, so it is something like which one I've used as my input, the other opposite terminal supposed to be utilized as an output node in order to tap the output. Okay, so in this case, the input goes to two terminals. Clear? So now, in general, the gate terminal is majorly controlled by what I personally call it as a control signal. Okay, it can be your data signal, but most of the time, I generally visualize this gate input as something like a control signal. Clear? And normally, I will call the signal that fed either to the source or the drain as the data signal. Okay, do not get confused with these words. It's just my own notation. Okay, so maybe you can even call this gate terminal input signal as a data signal as well. Okay, so we will see across that situation as well, where I will be applying one part of the input signal to the gate, where the other part of the signal will be given either to the source or the drain terminal. Okay, so we will have such situation where the gate can also be called as a data signal or a control signal. Clear? But I just want to distinguish whatever I feed to the gate as a kind of control signal, whatever I feed either to the source or the drain as my data signal. Okay, so that makes a little bit of easy go for me to talk about it. Okay, so each time I no need to refer to the gate, stressing that word specifically. For my convenience, I'm using this kind of notations. Okay, yeah. So now let me just pose some of the circuit conditions where I have source terminal being connected to the ground, okay, and I have the gate which is connected to the VDD supply. Okay, so there happens to be a logic value 1 applied to the gate of an NMOS structure, and we are being asked to compute the value of this Vout. Okay, now first of all, we have to see whether this particular transistor is turned on under this condition. Okay, so having this as my source, in this case I've used my left side terminal as my source, whereas the right side terminal as my drain terminal, and let us see whether we have this VGS which is greater than the value of VT or not. Okay, so under that assumption, we can interchange these terminals. Okay, so in this case, since I have the value of VGS which is greater than the value of VT, I can fix the left terminal itself as my source terminal and the right terminal as my drain. Okay, but there are situations where this might not work out. Okay, so in that situation, we need to invert those terminals in order to work on this particular problem. Okay, yeah. So now that what I have here is that a value of VGS which is equal to VDD, and we know that obviously the value of this VDD is much greater than the value of VT. Okay, so now there exists a kind of channel. Okay, so there exists a channel between the source and the drain. Okay, and in order to have some sort of node being connected to some load, I'm going to assume that the load that I have here is specifically a capacitor. Okay, so let us assume that there exists a capacitor, and the voltage across this capacitor is not so important, but just for your convenience, I assume that the initial voltage across this capacitor is held at VDD. Just for the convenience, it can be any value. Okay, but the value that I have across this capacitor is not equal to VDD. This is what I am going to assume. Okay, so I'm just going to pick a value which is intermediate between the VDD and the ground. Okay, so you can even assume that this initial voltage that I have across this capacitor is equal to 0 as well. Okay, so both these quantities are valid, and we can work on either this as your initial condition or this as your initial condition. Okay, so now having got this kind of initial condition, let us try to see whether there exists a channel, and through this channel, can we able to transfer the charges from the capacitor to the terminal. Okay, so now in this case, since I have assumed that there is some sort of positive charges on this particular plate, and at the bottom plate of the capacitor has some equivalent negative charges, and these charges in turn has created a potential across the capacitor which is taken as VC, which is equal to VDD by 2. Okay, so now that there is a path that exists between the source and the drain through this VGS, which is greater than the value of VT. And now what could happen is that you know that these charges in general will be attracted towards the ground, right? So all of these charges would then drain out of the top plate. Okay, from the top plate, it moves through this particular channel and then it goes towards the ground. Okay, so when I lose one of the positive charge, obviously the negative charge that it held on the other side will also be lost. Okay, so in a way, when I lose the charges that I have stored across the capacitor, the voltage across the capacitor will also step down. Okay, now throughout this entire transmission, what happens is that the voltage across the capacitor will begin from the value of VDD by 2 and it all the way switches to a value of logic value 0. Okay, it completely discharges all of the charges that I've stored on the positive plate of the capacitor. Okay, and still there exists a channel in this case. So I hope that I'm not confusing you people. So what I could see is that in this case, at the steady state, our output will be driven to the value of logic value 0. Okay, when I have this kind of situation, and assuming any positive voltage across this capacitor, whatever the voltage that I had before, the moment the channel gets turned on by the value of VGS that is greater than the value of VT, then you could discharge all of the charges that I've stored on the capacitor through this particular path, through the path of the channel towards the source. And when you exhibit a path, then whatever the charges that you have stored can be completely discharged and the voltage would be driven all the way to logic value 0. Okay, so which means that you could see that the NMOS is a good conductor of logic 0 value. Okay, so that is the conclusion that I could derive from this particular circuit setup. Okay, so now let us move to a different circuit condition where the input is a bit different. Okay, so I have an input and still I'm not going to fix any source or drain here. And then the right side, let us assume that there is a capacitor, and this capacitor, the initial voltage that I have across this capacitor is taken as VDD by 2. Okay, so I just want to make as a common for both the PMOS and NMOS, so I'm just fixing to the mid value, okay, as my initial voltage. Okay, it need not to be like that, but I'm just using for the convenience. Okay, for you to know what would happen to the steady state response once you apply the gate input to be equal to VDD. Okay, now the point is that whether the channel exists. In order to know whether there exists a channel, we know that the value of VG is supposed to be greater than the value of VT to create a channel. Okay, we need this condition to create a channel between the source and the drain. Okay, but when I look here, obviously the VGS between the gate and the terminal towards the left side doesn't even go beyond the value of VT. We have something known as VGS that is equal to 0. Okay, so I cannot use this left terminal as my source. Now, when I look for the right side terminal, you could see that there exists a potential difference which is equal to VDD by 2 just because of the initial condition that I have assumed here. Okay, so I have assumed some initial condition, and that initial condition is equal to VDD by 2. Now, if this value of VGS, okay, assuming that the right side terminal is my source, then the value of VGS that I have would be equal to VDD by 2, which is VG equals to VDD, and the source is at VDD by 2, and due to which they effectively, we have a value of VGS that is greater than the value of VD. Now, the question is, under this condition, we know that there exists a channel. Now, when I have a channel, what happens to the charges that I have here? What happens to the positive charges that I have under this particular circuit condition? What happens here? Will I be discharging the charges, or will I be holding the charges as it is, or will I be increasing the charges across the capacitor?
So increasing the charges.
Yeah, the charges would increase. Why? Because there is a source which provides positive charges from the power supply. Okay, so these positive charges would then travel through this particular channel, and then they try to deposit on these positive plates. Okay, so what happens is that when you prolong this particular supply voltage to the gate as VDD, the charges will try to move through this particular path towards the capacitor, and equivalently what happens is that the voltage across this capacitor will also shoots up. Okay, now what is the maximum value it can reach? So now let us assume that I have a value which is equal to VDD by 2. From the value of VDD by 2, it is keep rising. Okay, and at a particular point, I would reach a voltage which is known as VDD minus the threshold voltage. Okay, threshold voltage of the NMOS device. Now, what would be the value of VGS that I have here under this output condition? This is my Vout. Right now, from the value of Vout that was equal to VDD by 2, due to charging, it has been increased to the value which is equal to VDD minus VTN. Now, what is my VGS under this circuit condition?
VT.
It is VT. Okay. So now under this condition, my value of VGS would then be equal to VT. Now, will there exist any channel for this? Whenever we have VGS that is equal to VT, we say that the channel cease to form. Okay, there will be only depletion, and there won't be any channel at all. So due to which the channel stops appearing here, and it is something like an open circuit. Now, under this open circuit condition, can the positive charges from this drain terminal, can it move towards my source? And once the channel cease to form because of the value of VGS that I have, the question is, can these charges from the drain, can it move through this particular path to charge up the capacitor further, so that my voltage is trying to reach to the value of VDD? I think it's a very simple question that I have asked. The point is that on all the previous cases, we had some sort of source, okay, which is nothing but VDD, which was supplying the charges, okay, to the capacitance C. Okay, so through this, there exists a path between the source and the drain, and through this particular path, the charges were moving and then trying to get deposited on this capacitor to rise the potential of this capacitor. But now, when I have a value of VGS that is equal to VT, what I said is that there doesn't exist any channel. Now, what happens to the voltage across this capacitor? Can it rise further just because I have VDD being applied to the drain?
No, sir.
Yeah. There doesn't exist a path for the charge to move, right? So we seize the path, and due to which the voltage across the capacitor can reach to a maximum value of VDD minus VTN. Now, this value is not equal to VDD, due to which one could say that an NMOS is a bad conductor of logic value 1. Okay, so we'll just hold this information and we'll utilize when we try to discuss about the CMOS logic. Okay. Yeah. So now we'll just go ahead with the other transistor, which is known as the PMOS. Okay. So with respect to PMOS, we will have this conditions. And in order to turn on the device of the PMOS, the gate is applied with a 0 volt. Okay. So that is how we can make this transistor to be on. I attach the gate terminal of my PMOS towards the ground, and let us see which terminal I supposed to label it as a source and which other terminal we can label it as drain, okay, based on this circuit condition. So let me fix a capacitor towards the right side of the terminal of my PMOS. And again, just for the ease of thinking process, I'm going to assume that the initial voltage across this capacitor is set to be at mid value, okay, so that I can use the same initial value across both the circuits. Yeah. But this can be any voltage value. It can be any voltage between VDD to VDD by 2. Okay, so any value between those two ranges can be selected. Okay, yeah. So now under this condition, we have to see which side we can designate as our source terminal. So in this case, it would be better to take the left side as our source terminal rather than the terminal on the right side. Okay. Because if I choose the terminal on the right side as my source, the source becomes a variable. Now, whenever you choose something which is variable, our VGS keeps varying. Okay, we don't want this condition. We want to choose a value of VGS that is somewhat greater than VT. Also, if this condition is available, that is the value of VGS, if we could able to make it a kind of constant, then we would be choosing that particular VGS terminal rather than the other terminal. Okay, so let me write it as a statement. One of the important conditions that we want is that the value of VGS has to be greater than VT, so that we have to choose an appropriate source such that we end up having this kind of situation. Okay, this is the first point, which is a mandatory point. Okay, so you cannot skip this. There is a second point, which is an optional one, but ensure that the value of VGS, if you could be able to make it as a constant, give the first preference to that. Okay, the terminal, whichever you can think that particular terminal as a constant source potential that you have, then use that as your source node. Okay, so in this case, you could see if I choose my right side terminal of my PMOS transistor as a source, then during the charging or discharging, the capacitor will either charge up or drain off. Okay, so this becomes something like a variable. But when you consider the other end, the left side terminal, you could see that both the conditions can be satisfied. Okay, so in this case, I have a value of VGS which is equal to minus VDD, and this value is more negative than compared to the negative value of VTP, right? So in a way, I could satisfy this condition, and due to which my transistor is on, and also I could see that the value of VGS, whatever the condition that I have, the VGS is held constant. So in this case, choosing the left terminal could satisfy both these conditions, okay, rather than choosing the right one. Okay, hope that it makes sense. It is something like I'm trying to make a kind of a methodology through which you can just think and then process your terminals, which one to consider as a source and which one to consider as a drain. Because as far as the MOS transistor is concerned, the terminals can be interchangeable. Okay, it is not like a BJT where the collector and the emitter cannot be interchanged in the case of a BJT. But as far as the MOS structure is concerned, we can choose either of the terminals to be a source, the other terminal can be taken as a drain. Okay, since because of that freedom, we could do this kind of processing. Yeah. So now in this case, we could see that the value of VGS is greater than the value of VT. So I'm just taking in terms of magnitude so that you do not get confused with this circuit. Okay. So the transistor is on, and due to which what happens is that you could create a channel. So once you have a channel, what happens to the charges across this capacitor? We already have certain charges across the capacitor such that the initial voltage that I have across the capacitor is equal to VDD by 2. Now what happens to these charges? Will these charges will increase or decrease? So you can think as a switch. There is a switch. Okay, and the switch is always on. Okay, under whatever condition it is always on. And you have a capacitor over here, and this capacitor has already had some charges across it such that the initial voltage that I had across this capacitor was equal to VDD by 2. Now what happens to this particular circuit condition? Now the charges from the positive supply can be kept sourced, right? So due to which there exists a path, and these charges would then get accumulated on the top plate of the capacitor, and an equivalent opposite charge would be deposited on the second plate of your capacitor. And now once you start raising the charges across the capacitor plates, obviously the voltage across the capacitor will also shoots up, right? And it can go all the way to what value? Is it VDD or VDD minus VTP? Which one is true?
VDD.
It will be equal to VDD. Okay, so because till it reaches VDD, the channel always exists. Okay, that is something that we have to observe here. So whatever the value of this VC it is, okay, still there exists a channel for all the circuit condition. Okay, so since because there exists a channel throughout the entire region of charging, okay, we could charge the capacitor all the way to VDD. So I could state one particular statement that a PMOS is a good conductor of logic value 1. Okay, so now what we do is that we will try to reverse the input conditions and then see whether we can do a similar statement that we had it for our NMOS. Okay, so let me just go ahead, and again I will choose the gate being attached to the ground. Okay, and for the left side of the terminal of the PMOS, I would connect a ground rather than a supply like VDD. Okay, and I have the other terminal being fixed to a capacitor, and assume that this initial voltage across this capacitor is equal to VDD by 2. Okay, now what happens to this Vout? Now which terminal should I need to designate as my source? So you can use this idea. So first of all, if I choose the left side as my source terminal, then we don't have VGS. The VGS becomes equal to 0. So obviously the first condition itself would then fail. Okay, so obviously we need to choose the right side terminal in order to designate our source. And now that I have a value of VGS that is greater than the value of VT. So we have a VGS that is equal to minus VDD by 2, and this value is obviously more negative than compared to the negative value of the threshold voltage of our PMOS. Okay, so due to which the channel exists. So I would create a channel between these 2 points, that is between the drain and the source. Now what happens right now? What happens to the charges that I had already had it on this particular top plate? Now what would happen to these charges? Again, you can just put some kind of circuit condition where this is grounded and there exists a drain and there exists a channel, and you have charges that has been kept. Okay, it is something like having a cat at home and also having a milk in a pot. So what happens to that milk? And the cat is feeling hungry. So what would happen right now? Will these charges would increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Yeah, decrease. Yeah. So because there exists a path, so all of the positive charges will try to tend to move from the positive charge towards the ground. Okay. So as it keeps losing the charges, when the voltage across this capacitor reaches the magnitude of VTP, then what happens to the channel? What happens to our VGS under this condition? The VGS becomes minus VTP. Okay. And due to which there doesn't exist any channel. So you are having a condition where you have a ground towards the drain, and right now there is no channel between the source and the drain, and you have still charges that are there that makes the voltage across this capacitor to be equal to VTP. Okay, and this is the condition that you have. Now, will this charge can be further stepped down to the value of 0, or will it be held as it is? Yeah, okay. So now from this, one could write a particular statement stating that a PMOS is a bad conductor of this potential, which is nothing but the logic 0. Okay. So I will just make a review of what we have discussed. So NMOS is good at something, okay, and it's also bad at something. So good at conducting a logic value 0, but bad at conducting the logic value 1. Okay, whereas the PMOS is good at conducting the logic value 1, whereas it is bad at conducting the value of logic value 0. Okay, so now it is because of these reasons. What happens is that when we try to build any CMOS structures, what we generally do is that we would have a PMOS block at the top, okay, and an NMOS block at the bottom. So this is an N block, and this is labeled as P block. And as I said, since the PMOS is good at conducting logic value 1, we would have a supply towards the top end of our PMOS, okay, and then the drain would be taken at the output, okay? And we would have the output somewhere here. And since because our NMOS is good at conducting logic value 0, we would attach a ground to the bottom of this particular structure. And as we know that the inputs would go in common to both the PMOS and the NMOS block as well. So based on this concept, we had the discussion of this simple inverter, CMOS inverter, where you could see that the source terminal is connected to the VDD, and even here the source terminal of our NMOS is connected to the ground, and the drain was connected to our Vout. Okay, so in general, this is the structure that we will have. So this is our CMOS inverter. It's because of these reasons we always have a PMOS for conducting logic value 1 and the NMOS block for conducting the logic value 0, just because of this pure reason. Clear? Hope that there is no doubt. And before I again talk about the CMOS structure further, there are some of the questions that I need to ask. I want you to compute certain things. We'll do some exercise. So what would be the output voltage for this circuit? The entire analysis can be done from the left side towards the right side. Okay, so that is the small hint that I can give. You can start beginning with the first transistor M1, and later M2 you can analyze, and later M3 can be analyzed. Okay, now I just want to know what would be the Vout for this particular circuit.
Sir, NMOS device.
Yeah, everything is NMOS. Just because I haven't put any bubble at the top towards the gate, it's all NMOS device. Okay, and I can't really fix the value of source just because either of the terminals can be thought of as a kind of source. Okay, that's the reason. Okay, so let me ask the questions because you're not speaking out for a long time. So I'll just help you out in calculating this. Okay, so what is the output voltage that I can expect at this node?
VDD minus VT.
Yeah, it will be like VDD minus VT of the NMOS device threshold. Okay, so I would write like this. Now the point is that what happens to this node?
VDD minus 2 VT.
Okay, but can I think?
The channel will not be formed.
Yeah, the channel will always exist, right? Like in this case, what happens is that the channel at this particular point will always exist when you try to increase this particular potential. So say, for example, it is something like this, okay? I have VDD here. And now, in this case, if at all, if I have a value of VGS that is equal to VT, I could consider this terminal itself as my source, okay? So I know that there exists a potential difference, and that potential difference is basically closer to the value of VTN, okay? Let me have our capacitor over here, and this is with respect to M2, and let us assume that this is equal to VDD by 2, okay? Now what happens to this? What type of voltage that I can have? I have to ensure that the channel is supposed to exist. So until always I have the channel being exists at this particular point, I can conduct whatever the voltage that I have here towards this, okay? So now let us think in terms of switches, okay? So let me not commit this one as my source. Let me commit this as my source and the other one as my drain. And the voltage that I have here is basically equal to VDD minus VTN. It is not equal to VDD, okay? Now the voltage that I have here is equal to VDD by 2. And now that I have a higher potential than compared to the potential that I have across the capacitor of my M2 transistor, okay? And due to which the charges will move from the higher potential towards the lowest potential, and due to which the voltage across the capacitor will also start rising. Now, till what point this can go up?
So I did not follow this at all. How did that become VDD by 2?
Because as I said, the initial voltages across the other terminal, like this side, it's always fixed to some potential. So under that initial condition only, we can just start discussing this path transfer logic. Otherwise, it becomes like too complicated for us to analyze the thing. So we need to have some sort of potential to exist for the one side of the terminal so that we can see whether there exists a channel for all the input conditions. So what
but you've been given the source voltage is VDD itself, no? So why are we taking it as VDD by 2?
No, in this case, I can't assume this as my source, right? Because what I said is that I have to choose the source terminal such that I have a value of VGS that is greater than VT. So if I choose this as my source, then obviously I cannot satisfy this condition because the VGS of this becomes equal to 0. So I have to choose the other end as my source for the first transistor. And that voltage, whatever I have here, is always assumed to be VDD by 2 quantity. So this value of VDD by 2 is need not to be always like half the value of VDD. Okay, it can be either a 0 or it can be closer to the value of VDD minus VTN. Okay, you can choose those things, but you cannot fix this also to be equal to VDD. That cannot be an initial condition. So having this initial voltages to be equal to VDD by 2 can help us to work with both the PMOS and NMOS transistor, which is a mid value between the VDD and ground. Okay, but as far as the NMOS is concerned, we can still assume the voltage that I have across the capacitor either as VDD by 2, which is the easiest way of thinking, or you can even have a 0 volt, or you can also think a voltage which is equal to something like this. Okay, so it can take any of these voltage ranges, but having this as a startup point will help us for both the PMOS as well as NMOS circuit. Okay, so if I take a PMOS circuit, then the voltage range that you can have is between VDD. It includes VDD by 2 as well, and also it can go all the way to VTP. So this is the range of voltages that I can assume for the other end of my terminal. So instead of picking for every type a different value, like for one time I'm choosing as a 0 volt, for other circuit, choosing a VDD as our initial voltage, what I can do is that I can fix a common voltage so that these are the ranges of voltage that I'm using for NMOS. And these are the ranges of voltage that I can assume for the PMOS circuitry. Okay, so rather than having like two different values, if I fix a common voltage, so I don't need to worry about what type of circuit that I'm working in. And that's the reason why I told that we will choose the initial voltage as VDD by 2 for both the type of circuit. Doesn't matter. Okay, and because of that reason, I'm going to have a VDD by 2. I'm not going to worry about what type of transistor that I'm working on. Okay, hope that this makes sense. And then let us see, the voltage across this would then rise from VDD by 2 all the way to VDD minus VTN, and after then there exists no channel, right? And this is the voltage that it can reach. Now, having this as my input to the second transistor, and the output of the second transistor again can be assumed to have a voltage initially to be equal to VDD by 2. Now let me work with the second transistor. So this was the condition that I have. Okay, with respect to M2 transistor, this is a circuit condition that I have. Now the point is that we have to think whether the channel exists while I'm charging this capacitor all the way to the input voltage, which is VDD minus VTN. Okay, so now that this voltage is keep rising and there exists a channel, so what is the maximum voltage it can reach?
So VDD minus VTN.
Yes, it can go all the way to VDD minus VTN. Okay, because it is only at this particular point the VGS becomes equal to VT. Okay, getting? So it can actually pass all of the voltages that I had towards the left side towards the right side. Okay, there is no need of, like, I think somebody was telling it is VDD minus twice the value of VTN. Okay, this is not the case. The only thing is that fix this value and see whether you can translate all the voltages, or what is the maximum voltage it can get translated.
So second transistor, you can have the source and drain interchangeable, because like,
yeah, it is a kind of, yeah, but it is always better to have it in the right side, just because if I assume this, then as I said, like whenever we have the value of VGS that is equal to VT, I said the channel ceased to form, and due to which this condition cannot be applied for this. It is always better to have the other end as our source terminal so that we have a value of VGS that is greater than the value of VT initially. And then later it keeps charging towards that particular point where the moment I reach this value, the channel ceases to form. Yeah, so now, I think right now you would be in a position to tell me the answer for this. So what is the output voltage that we would have under this condition?
VGS minus VT, or VDD minus VT.
Okay, it is VDD minus the threshold voltage of the transistor. So if in case if you people find it difficult to understand, you work out with the condition that I've stated for M2 transistor, even for M3 as well. Okay, so again you would find that the channel would cease to form the moment the voltage across this node reaches the value of VDD minus VTN. Okay, so it would create a value of VGS which is equal to VTN, and then the channel will not form after then. Okay, so that is the voltage that we would have. And now let me try to give one more circuitry. And here is my V out, and let me mark this one as M1 and this one as M2. And yeah, so I have something like this. Okay, now what would be the output voltage? I think this answer you might be already knowing it. So what is this answer?
VDD minus VTN.
Yeah,
VDD
minus VTN.
I meant the V out.
Yeah, V out will come. Okay, so I'm just talking about this terminal's output voltage. Okay, M1's output voltage. Okay, so we have applied a supply of VDD minus VTN to the M2 gate terminal. Okay, now what would be this voltage? Which terminal do I need to consider as my source? Okay, so let us assume that this side is my source. Now I want you to work out at what point this capacitor either charges or discharges, doesn't matter. I would leave it to you. At what point the channel of voltage of V out, the channel ceases to form. Okay, and that is the output voltage that we would have. Now you need
VDD minus 2 VTN.
Yes. In this case, it will be equal to VDD minus twice the value of VTN. The reason here is that I need to ensure that the value of VGS that I have supposed to be equal to VTN. Okay, so this is what I needed to be equal to VTN. And now this gate voltage or VGS can be written as VG minus VS. Okay. Now what we have across the gate potential is VDD minus VTN. And the source is connected to our Vout. So I will rewrite the source potential, this potential, as Vout. Okay. Now the channel will stop creating the moment I have the value of VGS that is equal to VTN, right? So now let us try to evaluate the value of Vout. So Vout is nothing but just try to interchange these two quantities. We would end up having something like VDD minus VTN minus VTN. So which is nothing but VDD minus twice the value of VTN would be our Vout. Okay. So this is the answer. So now I'll finally end up this particular session with one more circuitry. But I need to give some values, otherwise you might not be able to evaluate the circuit. Maybe this, I'm just giving randomly. I'm not even thinking about what value to give. And let me fix the value of VTN as 0.7 volt and VTP as something like 0.5 volt. Okay, so just evaluate the value of this Vout. This is a kind of assignment that I'm giving, and I will not discuss the answer of this. I'll leave it to you itself. Okay, think and get the value of this Vout. So with this, let me end my session, and in the next class we will be talking about CMOS structures. Okay, and then later we'll just move on to what is known as time delay models. We'll be looking at it. Okay, so let me end the session, and thanks for attending.